All right, everyone. We have a suggestion from the Trump administration on bringing in refugees from South Africa. I'm going to try to get into nuance mode again, as I usually do on this channel. But there is a reason that I actually support this move. Please bear with me. Give me a moment to explain why. There is a big difference in the disposition of someone who is desperately seeking to leave their country because of severest abuse and somebody who is simply trying to leave their country because they want to make a buck. There's a big difference between the two. I do not believe that 90% of the refugees in the United States should have refugee status. I believe they should be kicked out of the country. And that's because most of them came here for basic bitch economic reasons. So, you came here with your kid on your back, walked across the Rio Grande and stuff. But that does not necessitate any form of patriotism or anything like that because you're just here to make money. Well, you can make money in your home country too. It's entirely possible. When you have a group of people, though, that is consistently harassed and abused, and white South Africans definitely fall in that fucking category, those are genuine refugees. South Africa has made it clear, if you are white, if you speak Dutch or something like that, Afrikaans, if you are of Boer descendants, if you are a member of Orania or something like that, if you are white in the country, you are not welcome there. In fact, other black people are not welcome there. There were race riots about 10 years ago in South Africa, in which the Zulu majority, which wasn't even native to the region, by the way, I will point out, and has adopted communism, so I shouldn't really be a friend to them, was attacking immigrants from other parts of Africa, people from Mozambique and Malawi and Uganda and places like that. They had come to South Africa to start businesses and so forth, and they were attacked brutally. They were burning cars and all sorts of crazy shit. It's not even entirely clear what sparked these, interracial riots, but they were actually a thing. Liberals in the West cannot understand or comprehend either of these topics. Well, why would black people have a problem with other black people? Because they just see them as black. They don't understand the ethnic differences between these groups. Zulu, Malawian, Ugandan, and so forth. They just see them all but I can't even use the word. That's what they see them as, because they're racist. They also can't understand that it's possible for a black majority government to legally oppress a fairly small group of white farmers. You've got farm attacks, you've got gang rapes, you've got crime of every possible disposition. I read a thread and I'm assuming that this is true, on 4chan years ago. And they were talking about Pretoria specifically, and the relatively wealthy population that lived in there, including people that were not white, by the way. What happened is that when apartheid ended, and it should have ended, but, although not by the same means that it did, preferably not involving the communism, when apartheid ended, what happened is that people forced their way into apartment buildings and offices and things like that and were squatting in there. So what they did was block by block, they had to hire fucking mercenaries and private security forces to force these people out and then began to build sky bridges between buildings because it was too unsafe on the ground. And there was one individual who was saying, like, I was riding through the area on a taxi. And he's like, by any means, do not roll down your window. You will get killed. And because it's so goddamn dicey. It's a very interesting scenario. I know multiple South Africans, Caracal, Anton, and so forth, people who've been either from South Africa or still there. And they will agree, South Africa's got some fucking problems. There's a reason why so many people want to leave the country. It's not because there aren't resources. It's not because there isn't a vibrant culture. It's not because of any artsy-fartsy shit. It's because it's goddamn insanely violent. So yeah, when I'm trying to grow beets and I'm at constant hazard of somebody walking onto my farm and bludgeoning me, maybe I want to leave that country. It is totally different from the so-called refugees that normally the United States has experienced over the past years. Normally, the person doesn't really have the right to refugee status. Oh, your country is poor. There are like 5 other billion people in the world that are in countries that are poor. Sorry, not my problem. When you have a group of people, though, that is uniquely discriminated against, that is uniquely harassed, that is uniquely fought against actively by its own fucking government, I would assume that refugee status in that case would actually apply. Now, trying to convince the liberals of this will be absolutely hysterical. It'll be funny to see them argue against refugee status for a foreign group. They're going to have to bring up race. They're going to say, well, the Trump administration doesn't want to let brown people in, but all of a sudden it wants to let white people in. Guess what? Some of those farmers are black, but they're part of the black minority. They're not Zulu. They're from other cultures, but they own a farm. They're being fucked around with too. You've literally had race riots over this issue, ethnic riots. It's very, very interesting. The Western liberal will never understand this. They can't comprehend it. It's impossible for them to wrap their heads around how South Africa is actually working. They don't understand it. Um, but that's the reality. I believe that these people are acceptable as refugees. Now people call me racist. Well, most of them are white. That's the only reason you want them in the country. Now it's more moron. It's more about the fact that they're being killed by their own government. And when that happens, at the very least, if it's a civilized group of people that are capable of functioning in a Western society, then I believe in giving them refugee status. Yes, absolutely. Some people here will breathe down my neck and say, no, we should never take any refugees. All right, well, what if they immigrated in the normal sense? They're capable of generally speaking English, although they have a Dutch accent, Afrikaner, and so forth. They're literally leaving political persecution, which means they're going to be real thankful to the nation. They'll probably be more patriotic than the average native-born citizen. I don't see any problem with them whatsoever. And the irony is I'll either get called a cuck or a racist for having this opinion. It's absolutely hysterical to me. That's about all. Peace out.